President Trump posting on social media, on his own Truth Social overnight, that he's repositioned 2 nuclear submarines, not just on social media, but also in the oceans, closer to Russia, after former President Medvedev was saying that he thinks that the threat of more sanctions against Russia by Putin's former best friend Donald Trump is a bad sign and means that war is encroaching between these two countries. And it's extraordinary how everyone is now posting on social media or giving interviews on their own TV channels in order to ratchet up a very delicate geopolitical situation. Let's just listen to what Trump had to say on Newsmax last night, which you could argue is very close. It's a news channel very close to his views. Listen.
When you mention the word nuclear, I say, my eyes light up and I say, we better be careful because it's the ultimate threat. He shouldn't have said it. He's got a fresh mouth. He said things in the past too. We always want to be ready. And so I have sent to the region 2 nuclear submarines. I just want to make sure that his words are only words and nothing more than that.
And they're closer to Russia, I assume?
They're closer to Russia. Yeah, they're closer to Russia.
There we go. One fresh mouth calling another mouth fresh. Let's go to Kim Darroch, former ambassador to the United States and former national security advisor. First on this Trump-Medvedev spat, Kim, and moving the nukes closer to Russia. Should we sit up and listen? Is this serious stuff or is this just saber rattling?
I hope I'm right on this, Matt, but I wouldn't take this too seriously. First of all, there are always maybe a couple of dozen US nuclear submarines out in the waters, and some of them are always sort of in the region, as Trump says. They're close to Russia, or they're in the Indian Ocean or somewhere around, as close as you can get to Russia. So there's nothing very new about what Trump has said. Second, he doesn't say whether they're nuclear-powered or nuclear-armed, so we don't know quite what he means by that. There's deliberate ambiguity there. Third, it feels a bit like Trump's rather typical thin skin to people criticizing him or taunting him. And Medvedev, who I am told counts for very little in Russia nowadays, is always out on social media and is often taunting, critical of Donald Trump. It seems a bit of an overreaction to a guy who doesn't count for very much. But as I say, I hope I'm right and that I'm not being complacent on all this.
Medvedev has said some of the most abrasive things since the beginning of the Ukraine war on social media. And I wonder whether, and he's a frightfully short fellow. I wonder if this is his way of, seeking some attention with a slightly taller man, Vladimir Putin.
It could be. His relationship with Putin is from all the evidence that has accumulated, pretty much master and servant. And he's deputy chairman, I think, of the Russian National Security Committee or something like that. So he would claim that he has some official basis for what he says. But as I say, everything I read and hear suggests he doesn't count for anything in Russia. And every decision that counts in Russia is taken by Putin personally. So I personally, as I say, would not get too alarmed about this. But boy, do I hope I'm right.
Okay, and so do I, by the way. But on the other hand, Trump has been on a bit of a journey, hasn't he? Because he is, there he was at the very beginning of his second term, berating Zelensky in the Oval Office, being very matey with Vladimir Putin. He has changed his position, regarding all the things that he has said, and we don't always take them too seriously, but also some of the things that he's done. He's changed his position, has he not?
Absolutely right. And I think it's a good thing that he has repaired his relationship with Zelensky and that the two of them now seem to be on more or less the same track in terms of what happens in Ukraine. And you're right that he's saying things about Putin that he didn't say at all in his first term, and he didn't say for the first 3 or 4 months of his second term. All that said, Matt, Trump, as you know, can turn on a sixpence. And if there was, for example, another long phone call between Trump and Putin, where Putin, who tends to do this, just offers something to Trump that Trump can claim as a kind of negotiating success, you could find it will all reverse again. So I'm glad that Trump now seems to realize that Putin, A, isn't much interested in ending the war in Ukraine, and B, hasn't done a lot of the things that Trump has been pressing him to do. I'm glad that Trump now seems to see what Putin is really like, but I'm not sure that this will necessarily last.
Turning on a sixpence, both in terms of Trump and in our subject matter, I mean, there we have, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, getting on famously with Donald Trump when he visited him in the Oval Office a few weeks ago. Now he's being punished, as the biggest trading partner of the US in a trade deal with trade tariffs because of him holding out recognition of Palestine. I mean, as a former British diplomat, do you worry that we could be next? And how do you deal with something that is, that as like Trump, who's that mercurial and that transactional on these big issues?
Well, in the end, you have your own policies, and if you care enough about them, you carry them out, whatever the noises coming out of Washington. I'm not sure Trump does get on that well with Mark Carney. When they met in the Oval Office, and Trump uses the Oval Office now as a reality TV studio, Carney responded rather cleverly to Trump banging on about how great it would be if Canada was the 51st state by saying, well, is the White House for sale? And Trump says, no, of course not. And Carney says, no, nor is Canada. And Trump didn't look thrilled at this particular exchange. So
do you think Keir Starmer is right to be not creating these challenges? I mean, there are many people in his own party and in the country who think that he should stand up more to Donald Trump. Do you think he's got it right? Has he got the secret sauce of diplomacy? Again,
this can change overnight. But look, we have got the lowest tariffs of any country that I can see has done a trade deal, 10%. The EU is at 15%. I mean, Canada is at, 30 or 35%?
35.
So you'd have to say that so far the policy has been a success. But you put your finger on it by saying Trump is absolutely unpredictable and mercurial. I don't think he's going to go after us as and when recognition of Palestine happens. But
why do you say that? Why are you so confident?
Because I think that they discussed it. I know they sort of say they didn't, but I can't believe that Starmer didn't hint at it in their extensive discussions in Scotland a few days ago. And because Trump's reaction to the announcement initially was very muted. So he hasn't reacted to us in the same way as to Canada. So I just think that there is more going on between Washington and Ottawa than there is between Washington and us. Again, I hope I'm right.
Just finally, I mean, when you look at the way that the international community is, behaving towards Donald Trump, it does remind me a little bit of sort of King Henry VIII, without the Pope standing up to him necessarily, but King Henry VIII, and everyone is sort of cowering at the court, wondering if they'll be thrown, into the gallows or to the guillotine, or maybe they'll be, sent a bigger turkey. I mean, this is extraordinarily a sort of in Trump's, favour, and he seems to be winning battle after battle so far.
Absolutely right. It is extraordinary. And by the way, there are whole articles, probably in future whole books to be written about Trump's regal, king-like behaviour and how that gives him the license to turn on a sixpence and to be so unpredictable and so sort of capricious in his decisions. But again, I think they're learning from Trump's first term and thinking the way to handle this guy is to appease him in public, but then if you have tougher messages to get across, harder messages, say them in private. We'll see how much it works. But Trump's behaviour, you're right, remains extraordinary. I
wonder if you still wish you were ambassador in Washington today.
I think there is nothing I wish less.
Okay, on that note, a former ambassador to Washington, Kim Darroch, thank you very much for coming on the programme.